Hi, I'm Anna from debajomoton.com and I'm going to show you how to knit the Teo hat. And we're going to work with the newborn size just because it's smaller, but you can use any size. So you're going to need a set of 5 double pointed needles, size 11, 8 millimeters, or whatever size you need to get the correct gauge, something to cut your yarn with. You can use a double pointed cable needle, and you're going to need a nice chunky yarn needle, and of course your super bulky yarn and the pattern, which you can get from the website. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to start with the first ear flap. You're going to leave a nice, few inches because you're going to use it for the ties. You're going to make a slip knot and you're going to cast on another stitch. All right, now your first round is knit 1, make 1 backwards loop like this because it's going to be the most invisible, and knit the last one. And now all the even rows you're just going to knit across. This is your make 1. And now on the next rows on the right side, we're just going to increase right at the edges. We're going to make 1 right by this edge stitches. Backwards loop again. And now knit across. Sometimes these are a little tight, but that's okay. You want them a little tight. That way they won't be too loose once you knit them. Okay, now we have 5 stitches and this is going to be our last increase row for the newborn size. And you're always knitting the first stitch. Don't slip it because this is not going to be seamed anywhere. So you want a nice wavy edge. Oh, sorry, we need to increase. Okay, and now don't forget to knit the last row here. All right, so this is the ear flap, the first one, and I have the second one already knitted here. Okay, so we're going to set our ear flaps aside for now, and we're going to start casting on our cable needle. You need to leave a little bit of a tail, not too much, because your seam is going to be very short, but you're going to need to weave in the end later. So you're going to need, for the newborn size, 4 stitches. The first one is your slip knot. And now we're going to do a cable cast on. 3 and 4 stitches. And now you're going to take one of your ear flaps and you're going to just continue knitting your stitches right on. Now the only trick here is that you need to, in order to get a solid join there, you need to hold your tail that you cut off your ear flap and your working yarn together pretty tightly and make a tight stitch. And now make it tight, and then you can drop your tail and just continue with your working yarn, knitting across. Now you're going to turn the work again to cast on the stitches that are going to go across the forehead. Now the first one I like to do as a regular knit on cast on, and now we go on to cable. So that's 1, you need 7 for the newborn size, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And now again, same thing, you are going to get your second ear flap, get that cut off strand, and hold it together with your working yarn to make that stitch. Drop the tail and continue with just your working yarn. And now we're going to cast on the last 4. And again, the first one I like to do as a regular knit on cast on. That's your first. And now we go to cable cast on. 2, 3, and 4. Now, you could join now and just knit a knit row, a purl row to get your garter stitch. I prefer to do an invisible seam. I find they are pretty unobtrusive. Even, let's see here, I don't even know where it is, here. See, it's easy to make an invisible seam in garter stitch, and I think it looks better than the jump when you're knitting in the round. But that is obviously your choice, not mine. But I'm going to show you how to just knit it back and forth and then make that invisible seam. All right, so now we're just going to knit across all the stitches, and the only thing we need to remember here is when we get to that stitch that we knitted with 2 strands, we're going to knit the 2 strands as one, just so we don't end up with extra stitches there. And now here it is, see? This is the stitch with the 2 strands, and we're going to knit them together. Oops. And now this loose strand is going to need a good tug there to make it nice and tight. And now you see that this is very loose, but when we get here, we're just going to give that stitch a nice pull to loosen it. And we're going to do the same on the next one, and that will even it out. And if it doesn't, you can fix it later. When you weave in this end, you can tighten them, so don't worry too much about that. And if you're using a nice 100% wool, it is very forgiving. Here is the other stitch with both strands, and we're going to knit them together as one. And give our little tail a tug, and same here, give it a good pull. Even out those stitches. All right, so now you're going to knit 2 more rows of garter stitch, and I'll show you how to join them when you're done with that. Okay, so we've knitted 2 more rows here, and we're ready to join. Now when you're joining you'll notice that this is your right side. This is where your cable cast on looks nicer, but you have these strands right here. My preference is to leave them here, and then when I weave them in, I'll just pull them to the other side, and you'll never know. You may want to just join this way. This is completely reversible at this point, so it's really your choice, but I think the cable cast on does look nicer on this side. So we're going to leave them there. We're going to leave our strands there, and we'll work on those later. Now, here is our working yarn. We're going to slip the last or the first stitch, it's actually the last one, to our left needle. Now we're joined together, and we're just going to knit. Oops, you do need to have your yarn on the back for this though. And you're going to knit them together, and you can slip a marker there if you want. It's easy to tell where you are because of the opening, but if you want a marker in there, you can definitely put it in. And now your knit stitch is going to start to appear right there. See, now you don't have garter stitch anymore. So now for this size, you're going to knit 7 rounds. For the other sizes, you can just find it on the pattern. Okay. So I'll see you when you've done that, and then I'll show you how to do the decreases.